Hi, second grade. Today is day 6, writing a lead, and our objective is I can write a strong lead for a personal narrative. Now, you're going to turn to page 45 in your notebook, and you'll see that it's blank on these categories. You've already practiced this 2 times. You practiced it in cycle 1 and cycle 2. So think back to those 4 different leads that we practiced to hook our readers in. Think if you can remember them right now. Okay, so the first one, let's see if you remembered. The first hook we talked about is sound. Start with a sound to excite your readers. The next one was a question, starting with a question to your story. We also have action. You can start with an action scene of your story. And the last one, remember, dialogue or inner thoughts. So these are the 4 that we practiced, and I've already done mine. They're hiding underneath these papers, but I'm going to show you how I planned them. So the first one is I could start with a sound. Well, when the story started, my personal narrative, it was very quiet, and all I could hear was my footprint, my feet walking and Will's walking. So I brainstormed sound as my footsteps, and I wrote clomp, clomp. I could hear our footsteps as we walked on the wooden trail. Now for question, I was really thinking about like seeing those large animals for the first time ever. And I don't think everyone's had that experience. I know that was my first time. So my question I thought of was, have you ever seen a large wild animal while on a camping trip? This is a story of the first time it happened to me. Action was a little, so that was my question brainstorm, and then my action was a little bit challenging for me because the story started off so calmly. We were just walking through on the trail through the forest, and nothing was really exciting was happening. So I kind of borrowed from what I saw other people do and like flash forward to close to the end of my story. Let me show you what I did. I wrote, my heart was racing in my chest as I stared at the large animals. So that was the action scene I could think of, my heart racing. This is the story of what happened. Okay, so you could always like fast forward to the exciting part and let the readers know that this is going to happen at the end of your story or near the end of your story. For dialogue, I thought of what I asked Will before anything had happened. I said, "It's such a nice day for a hike." I said to Will, "Let's go explore that trail." Okay, so I have done all 4 of my possible leads to my story. Now I'm going to pick the one that I want to start my story with. And I'm thinking about it, and I really like my question. So I'm actually just going to put a star right here, and then that's going to let me know that I'm going to start with a question. And because it's the beginning of the story, I wrote it in on the side here, and I drew a arrow pointing to where I'm going to plug that in when I finish my final copy. So I just wrote my question here. Have you ever seen a large wild animal while on a camping trip? This is the story of the first time it happened to me. And then I would go right into my story. Will and I were walking on a wooden trail at Grover Hot Springs. So that's what you're going to do, friends. Hopefully you remembered all 4 different leads you can start your story with. Then you're going to brainstorm one for each category. And then you're going to pick the one that you want to add to your story and make sure you put an arrow and start it off in the beginning of where you're going to put it in. Okay, go ahead and get started.